Cursed Conlang Circus! Hey everybody, welcome to Nga. So for months now, pretty much since the day after the release of 26 hours worth of the second Cursed Conlang Circus, people have been asking me pretty much non-stop when I would announce the next Cursed Conlang Circus. Well, after a lot of research, a Google form, and a surprisingly focused live stream with my Ngatrons and Discord mods, I think we figured out how to do this in a way that will minimize our suffering as much as possible while still inspiring maximum creativity. So, today I am officially announcing the third Cursed Conlang Circus. CCC 3, if you will. Things are going to be operating differently this time. So pay close attention before you get to putting together your video. Now, last year, Eternal and I, and occasionally a couple other Big Lang members, spent literal months going through every submission for a circus that ended up being much larger than I had ever expected. Thus, the 3 premieres lasted longer than an entire actual day. That was enough strain on my old computer that it literally destroyed it, by the way. I'm not doing it that way anymore ever again. Oh, I have cats now, by the way. If you just heard that little meow in the background, that's because a lot has happened in the past couple months. You know, I proposed, got married, got cats. The cats that have been out in the streets, we've been feeding them for a little while. There are cats now. They're here. They're meowing at each other. They're staring at each other and then looking back at me with confusion as to why I'm recording a video, because this is the first video that I've ever recorded in front of them. Get used to it, little buds. Anyway, I'm not doing it the way that the previous Cursed Conlang Circuses were done. Not ever again. Eternal and I suffered for a long time, and we cannot handle that. So that's what that Google form in the live stream were all about. Deciding how to make this a more streamlined process for what will most likely be even more submissions than last time. Here are the basics for what you need to know. First of all, let's once again get a good personal definition of cursed out in the open. For a creative process to be cursed, in my opinion, it must be disturbing, painful, or uncanny in a way that becomes funny by the way it makes us just like shudder. Often in a very nerdy way in our case. High effort, as in, while it's horrible, it is at the same time amazing for the efforts taken to bring an idea to fruition. And it is clever, meaning it's not necessarily a kitchen sink conglomeration of every idea possible, but rather an expertly exploited iteration of only a few select diversions from the expected. For example, a language whose phonemic inventory is the entire IPA but ejective, and whose declensions are the entire list of grammatical cases from Wikipedia. While, you know, it's you know, disturbing. It's not, it's oh god, why'd you do that? It's not like particularly, you know, interesting. Yeah, you gotta be more clever than that. Abby is looking at me with just like such confusion and disgust. This year, there will again be 2 optional themes that you can follow if you'd like, along with a third option for truly utilizing both themes at the same time. Now, last year the themes were a posteriori and rock, right? And lots of people were disqualified from that rock category because they just casually mentioned a rock somehow without actually incorporating rocks into the fundamentals of the language. This year it's going to be a little bit harder to cheat the optional themes. And there are also more difficult themes in my opinion. The first optional theme is tell a story. Make your presentation of the language in the format of a story with a concrete beginning, middle, end, central conflict, etc. You can have the presentation take place from the perspective of a main character. It could be a fable, a parody, anything else you can think of, as long as it's obviously a story. You could also take this more literally and make your language communicated fundamentally by telling stories or using storytelling conventions. Either will count. It hopefully should be obvious to the judges what you're doing either way, right? Second optional theme is proto-language. So take a language, or perhaps several, not necessarily related languages, and create your own reconstruction of an ancestral form. You could take 2 or more languages that aren't related at all and try to use whatever cursed bullshit logic you'd like to create their true progenitor. Like, say like Telugu and Korean, or Auto-June and Ultra French, right? Any reconstruction of any languages you like, whether they're natural or constructed, a combination of both. And of course, there will be a special honorable mention for the highest scoring submission that fulfills the requirements for both optional themes at the same time. And the sample text. This year, I'm actually giving people 2 options for their text translation. The first translation option is the following quote. About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. Or, alternatively, if you're more active on the Discord server, a funny little joke text that you could translate would be the following. Hark! It was ruled by Agamashuya and his son Gu Sabah. Tian practices against the lesser side of the invisible origin of light, beset by cosmetic prohibitions of silence and restraint. For Ngu, a slave to creativity, shall make inspection and certification prior to confirmation of Najva Guns' official status. Deny thine humanity. There are no politics in real life. Judging will be handled differently this time, as in, there's democracy for the first round. I will talk about how the voting will work in a moment, but after that, the judges will then use a system similar to that of previous years, tweaked a bit to be more fair, and centered around the following 3 criteria. 1. Communication of ideas. Which aspects of language are you exploiting, and how clearly are those exploits represented? 2. Cursedness of concepts. So how successful is your creation at subverting the usual conventions of languages? How funny are your concepts when incorporated into the language and the context around it? And 3. Presentation. How much passion went into your presentation and translation? Now, we may tweak the way we do the judging specifically when the time comes for the finalist round, but definitely make your submissions with the intentions of following those criteria. Now, we need to talk about some vital information about submissions and how judging is going to work this time. We will be splitting the circus into 2 rounds. A first round where all proper submissions will be put into a playlist into a random order Google form. The people, all of you, will get to watch as many submissions as you want or can mentally handle and select which ones you believe should move on to a finalist round. Voting will commence after the submission period has ended. There will also be another video with more information about that later. That's a reminder for me to do that, remember. And the finalist round will be the big video that goes up on my channel, consisting of the top 30 submissions based on audience voting with our commentary and the awards at the end. Me, Eternal, previous circus winners, select non-participant patrons, Discord mods, and any YouTubers from Big Lang, depending on their availability, will judge these top 30 in order to announce the winners by the highest overall score based on those criteria and the highest scores for each of the optional themes. So once the submission deadline has passed, look out on my YouTube shorts, Discord announcements, community page, etc. for the voting link for the first round of voting. Now you may be thinking, oh God, I don't want to suffer through hundreds of hours of content the way you did, Mr. Glorious Ringleader. Well, that gets us to something very important. There are a number of notable changes to how submissions will work this time. Most of this information can be found in the submission form. Sorry about that. First of all, from now on, if you want a submission to be accepted, you must use the official submission form, linked in the description below. And it must be a public or unlisted YouTube video. So sorry for the people who submitted via Scratch or archive.org last year, but from now on a submission has to be a viewable YouTube video with a functioning link that can go in a Google form. Also, it must be 10 minutes or less in explanation length. Now, this one may grind some gears, as several of the best submissions, in fact, like all of the best submissions in previous years, have been very long videos, definitely longer than 10 minutes. Now feel free to make a video as long as you want in general. You can make an hour-long video explaining your language if you really want to. It'll do great with the algorithm, and there will definitely be like a bunch of details that you'd probably like to explain into the minutia, right? But for the official submission, the one that's going to be linked on that Google form, you need to have a video where the language is explained in 10 minutes or less. Now, the translation of the text can be as long as you want, right? If it takes an hour, go for it. But in that case, you need to use chapters in the video description to clearly indicate what part is the explanation and what part is the translation, right? It's really freaking simple to make chapters on your YouTube videos. All you do is when you're uploading, you know how there's like, you got the title of the video and then you got the description of the video. All you gotta do is write down the time code, right? You could say 0:00 for the start of the video and just say explanation. And then wherever the explanation ends and the translation begins, you just put in whatever time mark that is. If it's like 10 minutes or if it's like 9 minutes and 59 seconds, then you just put in 09:59 translation text. Boom. And then you publish the video like normal. Don't have to do any other steps. That's how you do it. So do that. You can have your half-hour version of the video available to the public and linked in the description of your submission post, or you could call it a part 2 or something. If you want to start a YouTube channel, this will be a great way to get started, by the way. If you had a few videos for people to look at instead of just one, you'll be well on your way to algorithm success, right? This video also needs to be acceptable in quality. Now, I'm not saying at all that you need to learn how to be a pro video editor. This is what I mean, right? Number 1, no offensive content. Even if I catch a whiff of a dog whistle, you're out. 2, the narration audio has to at least be acceptable, right? If we're being bombarded by static, or if the sound is only in one ear for some reason, or if the music is so brutally loud that we can't hear the narration at all, you can't really expect the world to sit through it. If you don't have a microphone and you have to just use your earbuds to record or something, that's okay. Just make sure you're not like rubbing on the microphone or letting it hit your clothes constantly and creating like a brutal 1,000 decibel slam, you know, popping everyone's eardrums for the nearest mile. Don't deafen the people. Also, the narration needs to be in English. And I know lots of us speak several languages, but considering I speak English in all of my videos, and the vast majority of my audience watches me because they can, you know, at least to a certain extent, understand what I'm saying. You can't expect every voter in the audience to speak another language, and you can't expect us to have the free time to put subtitles up. So this is not about accents, though. If you want to demonstrate, like, say your broad Scottish accent, then by all means knock yourself out. Also, don't ramble or leave long gaps in between your speaking parts. If half of your video is long pauses and deep breaths between lines, we might not accept it. If you have no time or desire to edit spaces out of your videos, there is an AI video editor now. It's called Cut, and that'll like cut out all the spaces for you. It's not great, you know, it's very just like any moment of silence is just vanished, even if it's like a normal level of silence. Not a great thing, but that'll be better than getting excluded from the competition because you don't know how to, like, you know, cut clips or anything. Also, make sure the visuals in your presentation are legible. There were definitely some cursed presentations, but it goes from being cursed to being useless once you've purposefully blurred the text on screen, or you're just making it so that the visuals no longer contain linguistic or semantic information from being too crowded or something, right? If your whole presentation is just visually gone, you may be disqualified. And to make it obvious that your video is a Cursed Conlang Circus submission, we're going to ask for a couple things so you can tag it as such. I want you to either include CCC3 or Cursed Conlang Circus 3 in the video's title, depending on how much space you have in the title. If it's a long title, just CCC3, right? And then put hashtag CCC3 in the description of the video. This will create a hashtag database where all circus-related videos will automatically go. It'll improve the algorithm performance for everybody involved, even if only a little bit, and it'll allow people specifically looking for more submissions to watch to just have a list of all the submissions right there, even if the algorithm isn't recommending other videos. And then in the video description, I would like you to include a short summary of what your language is about. It doesn't need to be complete or anything, or it doesn't need to give away the punchline. I'm not asking you to literally explain the joke, but just like a sentence or two that is identifiable with what the language is will be good enough. And finally, how to submit. Actually, it might not be finally. The next bullet point on the teleprompter is how to submit. I will have a Google form in the description of this video, and that will be the valid way to be officially a part of the circus. When your submission video is complete and posted, click the link to the Google form, which is in the description, right? Input the title of your language, your preferred name, whatever you want to be called when we're reading out the submission, and then you will get a copy of the form by email, where you can double check that you input everything correctly. Oh yeah, and the valid link. That's probably important too. Additionally, until the end of the submission period, you will be able to edit your submission if you end up wanting to change something. You cannot make more than one submission though. With all that out of the way, this video is being released on... Is it? This video is hopefully being released on either Friday, June 7th or Saturday, June 8th. The official deadline for submissions will be Sunday, September 15th. I guess at like midnight Arizona time. I know a few people were asking for the literal hour. After that, the voting will begin. And finally, information for the people who are not submitting, the voters. There's nothing you need to do right now, and there won't be until the submission deadline is passed. Sometime pretty quickly after September 15th, I will post a video and a short and multiple community posts and a Discord announcement and all that to instruct all of you to start choosing your favorites. You'll be informed about how the voting will work when that happens, but in short, you'll be able to choose your top 5-ish submissions from the big list of all submissions. Maybe more than top 5 depending on how many total submissions we get. Just make sure that you're signed into a Google account while you fill it out. I haven't decided the voting deadline yet, but it will likely be approximately 1 month after the submission deadline, so let's say mid-October. Of course, there will be lots of submissions, which will be posted before the voting opens. This accidentally helps level the playing field against the videos that get huge amounts of views, right? So that's cool, I guess. It also means that to save time, if you're voting and you come across a submission you've already seen, you won't have to watch the whole thing again, and you can just make your vote, right? Though you'll probably want to, because it's some juicy cursed content, right? So that's it. I've given you pretty much everything that you need to know. If I forgot something, just ask and I'll tell you. If I missed something drastic, then I will tell the world somehow. So I am very excited for this. This has been a wild several months. I know I've literally only released like a couple videos, maybe even like one video and a couple live streams since the previous Cursed Conlang Circus, so this may feel a little jarringly soon, but it's, yeah, I wanted to give you guys a little more time. We're gonna make it happen, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be disturbing. It's gonna be terrifying in every conceivable way, and I have no doubt that you all will manage to disturb us even more than you all did in the previous 2 years. So here it is, the third Cursed Conlang Circus, CCC3. Whip out those keyboards and get cursing. Yeah. Let the circus begin. Go forth. Do it. I believe in you. Also, during my 3 months of absence, I got a few new Ngatrons and YouTube members, including Julia Russell, a new $10 Ngatron, and then we have Our Table, Charlotte, Big Legs, Big Teeth, Mocha, and Stephen Kramer. So, thanks to all of you for joining our lovely little cabal. Nabal. Thank you. Yes. Happy circusing. Get to it. Lots is coming onto this channel soon. And additionally, I've got some music coming out on my second channel, The Velar Nasal, soon. So keep a watch out for that. It's pretty epic in my humble opinion. We'll see when that comes out. Alright, Nut is out. Bye-bye.